So we're here to do a deep dive on the recent developments on Gold Digger. In the past 3 years, it's been a simple story because you've been mainly focusing on expanding a discovery, which by the name of Surebet, and you delivered on that. And this season, it's the first time you actually step out and approach a number of new targets. And the purpose of this call is really to give people a better idea of where those new findings are in respect to the existing results. So, Roger, the floor is yours, and you have prepared some slides.
Yeah, Sven, thanks for having me here. Yeah, so Goliath, as we all know, trades on the TSXV symbol GOT, and also trading overseas on the Frankfurt Exchange and the OTCQB. So yeah, the results to date have been pretty impressive. Obviously, previous drilling in 2021, 2022, and then this year, we really are focused in on looking for the higher grade zone of this, the Golden Gate feeder zone that we've dubbed it. That's, we believe, providing all this mineralization, or sort of what's called the gateway, or the plumbing that has brought all this mineralization that we see at surface at Surebet for over 2 kilometers, as well as, what we drill into at Surebet, as well as the new Bonanza shear. So all the holes, or the majority of the holes, are sort of focused on this Golden Gate feeder zone, again, where we think this mineralization plumbing is coming from. And certainly out of the gate, we've been extremely successful. We're seeing a lot of visible gold in a lot of these holes that are coming out of here. We did have 2 visible gold holes last year, actually, from this area. And both of those holes were, I think one was our top hole from last year. I think it was just over a 270 gram meter gold equivalent hole. And the third best hole as well. And that was about 200 and change gram meter gold equivalent hole as well. So we're hoping that, we're going to be able to repeat that success this year with the visible gold we are seeing, that we've announced to date, 7 instances where we've encountered visible gold that we've drilled off. Obviously, assays are pending. With those, actually, there were some pretty good intercepts of, the types of mineralization, classic Surebet style of min that we want to see. So, stay tuned for that. And, we're very keen on getting those assays out as soon as possible. As you can see here by the map, ultimately, here's the area that where we're seeing most of the visible gold from this year. And we did actually have a visible gold coming from our mole pad, which is on the north slope of the system. So from here to, just to the other side of the northeast faults here, we've got about just over 1.5 kilometers in distance. Yeah. Just to give you what's going on.
Okay, Roger, but just to, again, for my better understanding and the understanding of our viewers, the Surebet zone as such is baked into the rock like a burger patty. I always refer to it. So that's a simple structure you can easily trace and also calculate a volume for. But the Golden Gate feeder zone, how is that different? Is that outcropping, or is there the same horizon that you're cutting through?
Yeah, we're most of these holes that we're seeing to date, we're interpreting as the Bonanza shear. And if you recall, that's that sort of horizontal zone or shear zone. That's right now we've mapped it or modeled it as potentially bigger than 13 million cubic meters, which is quite significant. These holes that we're seeing, which are much wider than the typical average widths that we saw, I guess, from last year, I think it was just 5 meters. So we're seeing sort of 12, 13, 10 meter type intercepts of really interesting looking mineralization. Obviously some with visible gold in it, some without, but certainly all the characteristics of the same system. So to date, ultimately, we're proving out that the Bonanza shear has a really good chance of being even a wider system, certainly in this part of the system itself. And possibly higher grade as well, because that was coming in at on average of 2.71 grams gold equivalency. The thing is, we only had 33 holes up into the system in 2020, 2021, 2022. So coming out of this year, we're going to have a way better understanding of actually what's happening at the Bonanza Shear. And again, fingers crossed, hopefully it's much wider and higher grade, similar to our Surebet zone, where we've got an average width of almost 7 meters and grade just over about 6.31 grams gold equivalency. So I think we've got a good shot at it. So again, assays are pending, and that will determine what or the results coming out this year will determine what the actual size of that system is, and width and grade and so on.
Okay, all right. I think that gives a good idea. Well, depending on the assays,
Yes.
it might turn out that this zone is connected and just less compressed, maybe than
Sure.
the
Sure.
Surebet itself. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we definitely know that they are related to one another, the Bonanza Shear and the Surebet zone, as well as this northeast trending fault here. And then I guess what's sort of a new
Yes.
discoveries for this year is our the full house area. And you talk about stacked burgers and so on, or a burger. We've got multiple stacked shears, essentially just about 5 kilometers to the northwest of the Surebet system. Surebet's way over here on the right.
I see it now.
And then you've got Gold Swarm kind of over this way.
Ah.
And what we have found is similar looking mineralization. Again, stacked shears trending on an east-west, sitting in the mountainside. Then you've got these near vertical structures, which there is mineralization in there as well. So just to give you an idea, Surebet's here, like again, we've got that at 1.5 kilometer area. This full house ultimately could potentially hold, sort of 3 to 4 Surebets within it, because it goes for 6.5 kilometers that we're seeing all this mineralization exposed at surface. One area we can trace, over 2 kilometers at surface, sort of up and down, then it goes down in the overburden, then it comes back up again. So similar to, what we saw at Surebet before we drilled it, we had that 2.1 kilometers kind of wrapping around the mountain like a horseshoe at surface. So this is very similar what's happening over here. So with the mineralization and the entire system, the theory really is this was all connected at one point as one big system. And then a much younger rock came up, this pluton in the middle of this protruded, came through and basically just broke everything aside, and everything's kind of wrapped around in the middle, where we've got like a lot of dead type of mineralization in between these areas, but certainly all the way around. We can definitely, it looks like it was, potentially all one piece at one point prior to this other event happening that kind of split things apart, putting, Gold Swarm up to the north, Surebet's off there to the south, and then you've got the full house.
I get it. Quinton refers to it as a piano keyboard, which with different keys being dropped lower and or higher, but it was one. At one point, the theory is that it was one a multiple continuous horizons, actually, because this suggests that there were multiple events, but they all seem to be going into the same orientation as the Surebet has already shown. That's correct.
Yeah, same orientation. Same type of grades, same, we're seeing the sphalerite, galena, pyrrhotite, pyrite, and ultimately, I would say all things point to this well was one, connected at one particular time when, prior to this other event taking place. So the idea this year is we're going to actually test, we're going to try and test, if we have enough time, build a pad up in here. This is called the upper full house. And essentially, kind of try and
cut through,
cut through these shear zones that we're seeing at surface, which we have sampled, and see what kind of assays results we get, what sort of widths and so on and grades, with the idea that we're going to come back next year and really do a bigger number on drilling on this mountain face.
All right, but this is not the focus for this year. But overall, that explains to me how this 6.5 kilometer number comes along, because that was something I wasn't able to really wrap my head around it. So this is what you're meaning is that this is the distance between Surebet and the most eastward showing, basically.
The 6.5 kilometers is just the one particular side of the showings here on the mountain ridge.
Really?
Surebet is 5 kilometers away. So as this map here probably do a better justice. So here's Surebet over here. And as you can see, we've got all of this along Full House. You could easily fit, 3 or 4, potentially up to 4 Surebets kind of in this area. So this is like a brand new area that, we went and did some recon this year that we're following up. We got that amazing assay result we announced, I guess it was last week. Multi-ounce gold, multi-ounce silver at surface that we took from channel cut, and we were waiting for assays on additional channel cuts that we took further down the hill as well. So that is a little bit was a little bit confusing. Now I get it. This new zone itself is potentially 6.5 kilometers long, but it's very early days. I think we should try and talk about Gold Swarm as well, because that was a focus in some of the previous news releases with some spectacular results, and look very much like a lookalike of Surebet 2. Yeah, so Gold Swarm, as you can see, up to the north of Surebet, and then just 3.5 kilometers to the northeast of the Full House. Where we are testing these two shear zones at surface. They don't have the length or the width that we're seeing at the Surebet zone. So the idea is that hopefully there's some blowouts down below that we can't see that are buried in the mountainside, and obviously drilling there will determine whether or not we're getting sort of the widths similar to what we're seeing at the Surebet zone.
On the drilling itself, just recap. What's the scope and the size of drilling this year, this season? I think it's outstanding for a junior, anyways, because there's few companies that actually are getting funded to do work, and Goliath is one of them.
Yes. The idea is to do 18 to 20,000 meters in total this year. We may do more depending on what we're seeing. When we see some assays, we can actually go back and maybe pop some additional holes in certain areas again, with the idea of trying to increase the confidence level again in that targeted area of this Golden Gate feeder zone, where we think there could be again the potential source. There'll be some deep holes put in here as well to test for porphyry that has been confirmed by the Colorado School of Mines that have done photography work and their lab work coming up with that report earlier this year.
So just remind me, how many holes are planned in total for this year again?
There's about 70 or so planned.
70 holes, wow. And
70, and they're not deep holes either. They're sort of around 300 meters on average. It's not like we have to drill 800 meters or 700 meters per hole. It really depends where we're sitting on top of the hill here. Obviously the holes down here, further down in the valley, closer to the system itself, they're averaging around, between, let's just call it 300 meters, 250 to 300 meters in total.
Yeah, but I think that wraps it up very well. There's a lot of work being done currently, and luckily that don't seem to be forest fires up in this area. To prevent us from doing work, and a lot of news then to come later this year, and with assay results and further let's say analysis of drill core.
Yes, indeed. So this year, in addition, we're doing quite a bit of recon work. We've staked quite a bit of new ground to the north, up in the ice fields, where we're seeing brand new showings. rocks, which we're testing for channel cuts and grab samples, which could potentially be drill targets in 2024, and then some additional follow-up.
And all of this. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, and yeah. Go ahead.
Additional showings that we have found. They're sort of double-digit gold numbers that we're seeing at surface, and again, trying to develop those for drill targets for 2024, and really connecting everything here to show that this is one big, very large system that there's mineralization, which we have confirmed over 5.25 square kilometers already from our last year's drilling. When we stepped out 2 kilometers to the north and then off to the east and so on. But it looks that Surebet is just, I think, like I say, as Quentin says, one of many of these piano key type of systems that are built in this whole range of mountains that we're seeing. And certainly at Full House, we wouldn't be drilling it if we didn't think it wasn't let's say not a bulletproof target, but certainly our confidence. If our confidence wasn't there, we wouldn't be drilling it. So yes, it's early, but however, it's showing that it has certainly the legs to be drilled, and yes, there'll be further drilling there where, again, Surebet just might be like one little satellite, and Full House could be the main, the bigger event. But again, we'll just see once the assays come back.
Good. Well, thank you, Roger, for taking the time. I think we should do this on a regular basis. I much appreciate you running me through the maps and giving this orientation. Thanks so much, and
pleasure.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to getting assays out as soon as possible.